Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Added Time FPL, our weekly fantasy Premier League football podcast. We got a cool segment this week. We're heading into Gameweek 2. But before we just talk about that, there's two things I have to say. Number one, happy birthday to Mike. It's his birthday. I'm not going to disclose how old he is. That's up to him. But happy birthday, Mike. Hope you have a great day. I'm sure everyone, say happy birthday to him in the comments. Let him know that you guys wish him well. And he beat me.
My birthday present. I was allowed for once after a summer. You know, the worst thing about losing at the end of before summer is that you have to spend the entire summer knowing that you are second best. Right?
Put it like that. That's so bad.
And so you spend like 2 months just being miserable, and now I finally am ahead. And then how much is my lead? Was it like 4 points or something?
It's 5 points, yeah. 5-point lead.
5-point lead. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what led to that. But yeah, thanks for the birthday pod. Yeah. But let's help people with Game Week 2. And so Game Week 2, what are we talking about this week, Nate?
Well, I think we should get right into what's just happened. The most recent thing is price rises and changes. So, and just a bit of transfer news, what's happening, so people can be up to speed with what's happening with teams. Surprisingly enough, there's been no rises. Last season, we saw rises quite quickly. Mike, why do you think there's not been any rises this season?
I think
this deep.
The start of last year saw a lot of new players join FPL. And so the market was very volatile. People were making a team that was very template because of the prices of last season. You had everybody having almost the same team, and then everybody almost stuffing up Game Week 1, and then everybody pivoting to how do I fix my team? Because it was so template, and everybody stuffed up, and that led to a whole lot of people making early transfers that just shot prices up. And if you look this season, the transfers, there's so much. Like even our teams are different. People have different teams. There's staples, but there's also a variance across different teams.
You could say that you could say that the players that people picked did as they were expected to do. They did well enough. Like, just a quick example: you had Salah, I had Jota. They both got points. You got a bit more than me, but there's no reason for me to now move to Salah because Jota got me points. Kind of an example.
There's just no template, and that means that there's more options. That your team is decent, and therefore not everybody's pivoting to get rid. How unfortunately though, even though there's no price rises, and I do think we will see some price rises in the near future, we have to talk about the price drops. And here are the players that have dropped in price since the game started. If you have any of them, I'm sorry. However, there's only one player on this list that we were talking about, and we didn't even say that you should bring him in your team. So it wasn't us that gave you that bad info, whatever you're listening to there. So the first one is Tony at 7.4 million. And it's easy to understand why. He was not selected in the squad for Brentford's first game, not because he wasn't fit, but because he is trying to get a move out of the club, and the club don't want to use him in the squad when he might be on his way out.
Yeah, makes sense.
That being said, it doesn't look like Brentford needed him.
No. So we'll talk about the Brentford and Wemo and Risa later, but yeah, you're right. The second one would be Darwin Núñez. I could argue the same thing, that Liverpool technically don't need him. Jota did fine with Diaz on the left, Salah getting points on the right. He just didn't fit into Klopp's team over the weekend, and I suppose people see that there's more points in other forwards, so there's no point having Núñez.
And he didn't. He kind of was on the periphery of Klopp's team, but with Slot, he's kind of like, it looks like he's got so many options that he didn't need him for that first match. And it's unfortunate, but it's not as if Darwin has shown us that he is this elite striker. No. He struggled. Yeah. He has struggled. And so I think Slot also knows. That's why I actually like the manager that Liverpool chose, because he clearly doesn't want to rock the boat. He's like, I'm taking Klopp's team.
Yeah.
I'm taking it another season. I'm going to get the best out of the players that are there. Yeah. No transfers in. He's like really doing a good job, and he's trying to make sure they win so that he can start his football tenure on a positive note.
Yeah,
right. He's doing whatever it takes.
Even if it means Darwin doesn't start. Yeah, exactly.
Even if Darwin's not starting, he's doing what it takes to win so that he can start strong. Now go tell me the other starting Premier League managers at Chelsea who don't do things like that. And then
moving along before we get too upset.
Kwanzaa is the one that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So Kwanzaa's dropped to 4.4 million, and the Kwanzaa started the game, but everybody said that he looked like he was being bullied. Okay, it looked like it was just too much for him. Preseason is one thing, but the real thing,
yeah,
you can't. It's different. The Premier League is a different beast. You're right.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, most people assume that Kwanzaa is going to not start, and so they've taken him out of their team, and that has caused the drop in price to 4.4 million. So if you have him, you've kind of lost a bit of money on him.
Yeah.
Would you hold Kwanzaa now that you've missed the price drop, Nate?
I don't know. I don't think he starts again. Like you say, he didn't really feel comfortable. I think you keep him maybe for another week because he's not going to drop again unless people are mass transferring now. But I think you would look to move him on with a bank transfer. No point taking a negative point to move out money that you've lost already. So maybe a bank transfer or a wild card later on.
Yeah, the problem is you can't go to a 4.5 because you've lost 0.1.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to go to
downgrade to a formal.
And there isn't one that's starting that we know of.
And the one that we're going to talk about did not even feature. Rodri from City, just out, just not there, not available for selection.
We had Added Time FPL member who was asking for advice, and we actually we put together a team, and he had Rodri in his team just to fill up a spot. And unfortunately, I saw the news that Rodri wasn't available, but I forgot to let him know. I just missed it just before the deadline, the day before.
Yeah.
And so he has got Rodri and he's gone down. But guess what? He's ahead of both of us in our Moodley League.
Yeah, there we go.
His name is Aveshin Velu. Shout out.
And then the last drop was Sancho. He dropped before the mass bulk drop happened yesterday. I think he dropped over the weekend. Just because
that's because he's not included in the squad.
Yeah, just not there. Also, more rumors about him planning to leave United anyway. He never really
rumors. He's coming to Chelsea. So
you guys can keep him United. It's fine. You guys can keep him.
We're apparently trading Sancho for Chilwell, so we'll see what happens
there. You go.
And price changes can also affect transfers that are happening at clubs, and two transfers that I think are important to keep an eye on. And the big one actually is Anderson to Fulham, because Anderson from Crystal Palace is sitting at a high ownership, and that means that so he's selected by 18.3%. He's not a differential. He was a pick that a lot of people wanted in their team, and now he may be moving to Fulham. Does that, to you, improve his appeal or worsen his appeal?
I think two things are at play. I think it worsens the appeal of Crystal Palace goalkeepers. Unfortunately, we have Henderson because he was a very good defender for Palace and was pretty solid. Now they're losing that asset. So for Palace, I don't know if they're going to be a solid defensive anymore. For Fulham, I think it's a good thing. They're obviously gaining a good defender. We'll have to see how it affects the already budget-picked Fulham defense that we've spoken about. But I think it's a good move overall. I think it's worth holding on to him. I think you're buying him in to start him. I don't think you're paying that price for that player to have him sit on the bench. So it's a good move.
I think Anderson coming in makes Robertson even better. Because at 4.5, Robertson's defensive clean sheet potential goes up by them buying a good defender. And at the same time, and Robinson looks like a really good pick because he was flying down the wing. On the other side was Tete, which started in front of Castigan and was really, really good.
And
so
Fulham
I'm still looking forward.
Looked like good on the weekend against United. Like they really did well.
United were lucky to come away with the win there.
Yeah. And the last thing, a big talking point, because Pep went out of his way to sign a replacement for this man, and now he's on his way back apparently. But Gundogan's coming back to the Premier League. He's unhappy.
Gundogan is a beast, not only as a FPL asset, but as a player and a leader in that team. So
he'll plug that Rodri gap for sure. It will be interesting to see what his price reveal point will be.
What's interesting to me is, like, where is this coming from? You're bringing Gundogan back. Someone must be leaving, moving on, or taking their space in the squad. So we keep an eye on that. Like, in what capacity is Gundogan coming back? in that midfield where you got Kovacic there and you've got Rodri there, and so now you got Gundogan. So how are the three of them going to work together? Pep must have a plan.
Yeah. Pep's always got a plan. So, Mike, what are the standout players to look out for this week coming into Gameweek 2? Well, who impressed you over the weekend? Who's are the ones to watch?
Well, let's just start with goalkeepers because and this is something you brought up earlier about goalkeepers. Which were the goalkeepers that worked, Nate?
All the premium keepers, every single one. Well, at least like 80% of them. You've got Pope, Raya, Edison, Allison, all hauling big points. And the only budget one, so fair play to those who owned him, was Steele from Brighton. He was the only 4.5 goalkeeper that got a 7-point haul. Every other goalkeeper that was 4.5 or below 5 mil got nothing.
And the starting fixtures were Everton, United, and Arsenal. Okay, that's why he wasn't really on our radar. But at that 4.5, like I know a lot of people have Henderson, 17.4%, in fact, and we're one of those two people.
Yeah. Fortunately,
so
he didn't get much.
He didn't, but it's good to know. And also keep in mind that with this news that Anderson might be moving, does that actually drop Henderson's appeal?
The appeal even more? Yeah,
we're gonna have to keep an eye on that. But yeah, premium goalkeepers seem to be the one. And if you had the money, I did not. One of those. Now, out of those more expensive goalkeepers, which one would you say would you keep your eye on for the next 4-5 game weeks?
Definitely Raya. I plugged him in our budget or in our premium goalkeeper video. If you haven't looked at that, you can still go check it out because I'm sure there's relevant information. But it would be Raya just because of how Arteta likes to set up his defense and likes to keep clean sheets. So out of all the keepers, I would expect the most consistent clean sheet performance from Raya. Edison is good shout, but again, you didn't expect City to keep a clean sheet against Chelsea. I know we were both thinking, we knew we were going to lose, but we were thinking 2-1, you know. Same with Allison and Liverpool. But maybe Slot's a bit more different than Klopp and then all-out attack. They controlled the ball well in the back, so could be expecting things from him.
I like Pope. He's only 5 million, so he's still cheaper than all of those that you mentioned.
Yeah,
at 5 million. But that 0.5 for a team that has good fixtures in the next 5 and is a history of FPL dominance in terms does make saves.
Yeah.
And Newcastle do play attacking football, which means he's going to get save points because he is going to face saves. Compared to an Edison or an Allison, whose their defenses are so good sometimes that they get bored and fall asleep.
They go have a barbecue, they're chilling, they don't do anything. The only reason why I'd say I watch out for Pope is just because of Fabian Schär's red card over the weekend, which is very unfortunate for Newcastle. He's in the middle of their defense. So we have to see how Eddie Howe adjusts his team. But like you say, Pope's pedigree, he's always getting points and clean sheets in the Premier League. So, yeah.
So, Nate, standout defender from this last game week that we need to put in for our team. Who's yours?
Well, I can't say Trent because he got points. I can't say Vardy because he also got point. But if he didn't have a knock, I was going to come into this video and say Pedro Porro at a 5.5. Not too premium, not too budget, but right in the middle and got a good haul, got a good goal. He just came off with a bit of a knock, so something to just keep your eye out for. But defender to bring in?
Martinez. It's got to be Martinez. Come on.
You plugged him earlier in the
4.5.
weekend.
You United get access to United. My only concern about him is he's playing as a centre back and not the left back that I assumed he was playing.
You could look at Mazzari as well because he's playing out wide and he's the same price category. But I think Martinez has got his position nailed down more. So yeah, I think I'll go with yours.
Martinez plays regardless.
Yeah.
So you go with Martinez. So I would think everybody should keep an eye on him. He scored points this week. I would back him for the next couple of game weeks, except for that Liverpool fixture, to score some points. But now, looking at the midfield, one player that I want to speak about is Mitoma. Now, we did not put Brighton assets in our team, but he had a game. Everything looks to come through him. He seems to hopefully recovered from his injury-plagued season last time round. And at 6.5, probably one of the better assets to own.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. It's also a very easy move because those of you that got like Gordon, maybe if Gordon doesn't perform, you can easy downgrade to Matoma. Those of you that might have, well, Bruno Fernandes, if he doesn't really haul much, save some money there, downgrade him to Matoma and free up, maybe bring in Haaland in, depending on your team. So I like his pick. And I like that I watched the game and Brighton looked deadly. A 3-0 is nothing to be shy about. And everything came through him. So
they're bad fixtures, but what do we always say?
Form
over fixture.
All the time.
So
all the time.
we're playing Man United and Arsenal. So it's going to be a tough battle, but it's one to keep an eye on.
Just to double back on your midfield quickly, because I have someone that I was looking out for, and it was last season starring in Mbeumo. We can cover this quickly with your
Mbeumo and Visa. Don't talk about Mbeumo and Visa. Just so all of you know, last season both of them started on fire. Okay, first 5 game weeks they were right up there in FPL and goal scoring form. And you know what happened? As soon as I brought them in, like 4 or 5 game weeks in, bad. They just dropped off the face of the earth.
So we won't go too much into that because maybe it's a flashback of last season, but have to just mention it. Mbeumo had 7 mil, Visa at 6 mil. Clearly don't need Ivan Toney doing the work for Brentford, sorry. So also another good pair to look out for. But
another pair with bad fixtures. Liverpool, City, and Spurs in their next 4.
Yeah. So we'll see. If they can perform against Liverpool, maybe it's worth it. If they don't, then I wouldn't worry too much.
Okay, and then
3 more forwards that we've got listed here, Mike. 3 more forwards. We'll save the best for last because you are a little bit upset that you didn't really plug him, just because of the price point and what he did. But let's start with the obvious one. Kai Havertz, old Chelsea boy, moving to Arsenal, having a great weekend.
Yeah, we saw his preseason form. We saw him starting ahead of Jesus, and we've seen Arsenal. I would call to quote one of my friends, Arsenal is this is Ridwan. Arsenal are fixture proof.
Yeah, and like Arteta likes Havertz.
We can talk about bad fixtures, but Arsenal are fixture proof. Their defense will hold regardless of their opponent, and their attackers will be involved. And Havertz has come off an interesting Euros campaign, a good season with Arsenal, and he seems to be building. And Arteta's got him at the center of everything he's doing,
and he plays start.
He just brings everybody into play. He doesn't try and do a lot on his own, and when he does, he's not always the most clinical. But this time he was. And I think at that price point, at 8 million, we got a good forward there. And to rival him, there's another 2 options that we've got, cheaper ones. If you can't fit in Havertz and you're trying to get rid of Solanke, maybe because you weren't happy with him because he flopped over the weekend, I would look at bringing in either Welbeck or Wood. Out of those 2, which one do you like better?
Wood. Welbeck could share his points with Pedro. I think Welbeck just got lucky. Not lucky, like he played well. He just got the goals through him. It really could have gone either way because we could be sitting here saying Pedro was the pick and the goals went Pedro's way. So it's between the 2 of them. The way Brighton line up, they have the 2 in the front anyway. So, but with Forest and Wood, it's just him. So I prefer the Wood pick over the Welbeck pick.
The woodpecker.
The woodpecker.
No, I agree with you. I would say, again, we've already touched on this. Welbeck doesn't have the fixtures, but Wood does. But they're both on form. But Wood is the star of that show. He's the focal point of that attack. And in all of the players in Nottingham Forest that people were talking about standing out so far, like Gibbs and Hudson, like the player who really stood out here was Wood.
Yeah. Like, and the same thing with Welbeck. There's also Matoma, so Matoma could get points. Welbeck could.
Those are the players you guys should watch out for if you're thinking about making changes this weekend. Those are the ones that you should look at.
Mike, we've got 6 players listed here. Some would say the biggest flops of the weekend. I mean, we would say that, but let's talk about them. Let's talk about some players that should have popped off but didn't. What do you think?
And should you keep them? Is it worth keeping these flops of the first game week?
Well, who's at the top of our list? We'll start with him.
Oh, Solanke. He had no clear-cut chances, but he still looked good and he gave everything. He worked hard. And in a Spurs team that should have won that game 3-0, who drew that game, which feels like a loss to them. typical Spurs behavior. But I think there's a lot to say about Solanke in terms of it's his first time playing with the game. He still has an easy fixture against Everton. I say keep. He flopped last weekend. He didn't return, and it cost us a lot of points in terms of what you could have had for that 7 million if you upgraded it to a Havertz or you downgraded it to a Wood. There's a lot you can do with that money.
Yeah.
But you don't play FPL week by week. You play FPL as a marathon. And I didn't bring Solanke in for 1 game week. I need him to prove to me over 3 game weeks.
Yeah.
That's the time I'm giving him.
Yeah.
So, yes, he did flop. But Spurs are an attacking team. Maddison will get better at finding him. The form of Maddison goes up. The form of the striker goes up.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think you hold him for it, but and he's got a point to prove. And what better way to do it against the easy Everton fixture at home? So we'll have to wait and see.
Everton are struggling defensively. So I would say that it is a good option to have a Spurs attacker in their team this coming week. They got beaten 3-0 by Brighton. So
there you go.
There you go.
The next one is someone that you thought was quite a saucy pick. And the writing was on the wall. Remember, I did it. It was there. It was all there. Bruno Fernandes, Man United. What the heck happened?
Well, I had this thing happen because we were like sharing our teams, and then I was like, I'm not gonna be having Fernandes, and you had Fernandes, and then next minute you had no Fernandes, and I was like, does that mean I go to Fernandes now just in case he does pop off? And in the end, we both were sighing a fresh relief.
Yeah, because we knew the potential was there, and we were just happy that we didn't.
How many goals did you see him miss?
Yeah, I think it was at least two, maybe 3 clear-cut chances.
Very clear cuts.
Yeah.
The third one that he could have scored. If United score, nothing changes. He is going to be the one to score points. But he was so unlucky that he didn't get the points, and they were rescued as a late goal that Fulham lost. I lost points because of that.
Yeah, you would have got the clean sheet. We would have got the clean sheet from Robertson, yeah. So, he's still going to start at number 9, so he's still going to maybe hold him if you have him. Like we say, I think it's the same situation with Solanke. A bit worse considering he missed the chances that were very clear. But he's still Fernandes. Things are still going to go through him, so hold him for a bit.
Yeah, another one that disappointed with hardly any preseason, and I didn't think it was a good idea to start him. I have no Chelsea players, but Cole Palmer, who just won PFA Player of the Season, but did not make it in the Team of the Season. That's the big news happening in the UK right now. And he started at right wing, and he did not look his normal self.
No, he didn't look like he fit. No, I don't know what. He looked like 5.5 mil Cole Palmer. He didn't look like 10.5 mil Cole Palmer. For that price, to not do anything, I would worry. I worry for Chelsea already. Now I worry for Palmer.
Over Salah, over Jota,
Saka,
over Fernandes, over Saka, and I'd be worried. Now, I'm not saying drop Palmer because they do have easier fixtures. However, personally, I will wait on Chelsea until I actually see a Chelsea who can win games. Because right now, Chelsea are an enigma. Yes, they played Manchester City, and yes, they didn't look that bad, but that doesn't mean that this is Pochettino's end of season Chelsea that are going to go out there, score goals, and just really be solid. I think we could easily see Chelsea lose the next 3-4 games, and we're talking about a relegation, early season relegation fight. I can see it. So for me, I'm not moving to Palmer, and I would, if anybody on this list, he's probably my definite move on if you have the money, because if you're going to put Saka in for that same money, I guarantee you Saka is going to score as much points, if not more points than Palmer over the next 5 weeks.
Yeah. There we go. Another player who actually I wouldn't go as far as saying was a bit of a flop, more a bit unlucky, because he looked really good in Palace's team, was Eze. A lot of people own him, 30+% people own him. Unfair goal ruled out. I mean, what can you do? The ref blew the whistle as it went in.
I was very happy that he didn't score, because I don't have the space in my team or money in my team for a 7 million player.
Yeah.
And I know everybody wanted to have him in his team, and a lot of people did. That being said, he didn't prove to me that he doesn't deserve to be in my team, because he actually looks good.
Yeah.
And if Crystal Palace are going to score, he's going to be at the center of it. He's their talisman right now. Everything seems to go through him. and he will be scoring points. So if you do have him in your team, he's still worth a hold.
I agree.
He's not worth that. He's still worth a hold. However, I'm going to keep praying that he blanks every week.
Same with Fernandez.
Just by luck.
Same boat.
Yeah. What about Barco? What do we do about Barco? Wasn't in the squad
at all.
He's rumored to be off for a loan.
Yeah.
Even though he played all of preseason, even if he does start or he is involved in the next game, when Estupinan comes back, he takes back his position anyways. But he's at 4 million. What do you do with him? What do you think? A lot of people are going to have him there. And we were using, to correct me if I'm wrong, Nate, we did the same thing. We put Barco in our team, knowing that if he doesn't play, it doesn't matter because we have Robinson on the bench.
Yeah.
And what a good decision that would have been if he did play, because then Brighton would have scored like 3 goals and he might have been involved in it.
He would have got a clean sheet. Well.
Yeah. If there was another 4 million Brighton asset, he was good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you do with Barco?
It's tough because he's such a cheap player. You can't really replace him with anyone that's going to be potentially starting all the time. He's kind of a player that I'm going to look at and say, he's probably on his way out. Let me bank a transfer and fix my team. That way I can take 2 transfers, not take a hit, get rid of him, and maybe downgrade a midfielder to upgrade the defense and get a more mid-price midfielder kind of a thing, because you can't really take him out any like-for-like swap at the moment.
Yeah, I would suggest you wait until either you wildcard. I would actually just leave him to sit on my bench till I wildcard.
Yeah.
The nice thing, here's the interesting bit. If he gets transferred to another club, particularly outside of the Premier League, like on loan, his price gets locked at 4.
Yeah, which is what
this means we don't. So if he's not going to be used, they didn't leave.
Yeah.
Go to Spain or something.
Yeah.
Because that way we lock in their 4 million spot on the bench. Yes, it's a useless bench spot, but all we do is we wait to our first wild
and
card.
you're not losing money on him, so there's no harm, no foul.
In fact, it's better to have Barco that leaves than to have someone like Rodrigo that's gone down.
Exactly.
Or Kwanzaa. So, and the last one, a lot of people who didn't go with Haaland had this guy in the teams.
Yeah, we didn't plug him at all.
Who am I talking about? What am I talking about? Watkins?
Mr. Oliver Watkins. Ollie Watkins for Villa. Played 61 minutes, I think, and then got taken off. Didn't look like he had much of an impact at all. I don't know if he just needs to find form again, but he's not the Ollie Watkins we saw last season. Stay away from Villa, from Villa's forward, Ollie Watkins at the moment. I don't think it's worth the investment. Is he 9 mil? I think he's 9 mil. For that price, I'd rather just buy Wood or Havertz. Why bother with Watkins?
I think you hit the nail on the head there with the Wood. It's just there's so many better options in the forwards. Solanke could pop off. Yes, if you had Solanke instead of Watkins, it's not a major difference there. But like, if Isak and Haaland are doing their thing and you have this third spot, you have Wood, you have Havertz, you have players that can come in the forward position to even Wisa. You have as an option. There's so many forwards. There's forwards from Brighton. You can choose Welbeck. Like so many options.
Yeah.
So I don't think Watkins is really worth it. And I would rate him on this list of all the names we've said. Even Palmer, I think is worth holding on a little more than Watkins. He's the one that I feel like is a bigger waste of money right now. Okay, he could prove me wrong and score a hat-trick this week. I mean, we can see. But I think he's one that I might want to move on. I might. But yeah, that's our biggest flops of this weekend.
Here we go.
The sad part is it is about just being calm and holding on for most of them.
Yeah, like you said, FPL's a marathon. It's not a sprint race. So there we go. Right, so now let's talk about captaincy choices. We've got one option, maybe 2 outside choices. And also something I want to discuss with you, Mike, is potential FPL chips that we could play this week. On top of that, as you guys can see, if you're watching on YouTube, we've got our team in front of us. We're going to look at how our joint Added Time FPL team did over the weekend. So let's just dive right into captaincy choices, Mike, because I know what you're thinking and you know what I'm thinking, and I think the world knows what we're thinking, and I think
there are 2 captain choices this week.
Okay.
It's Captain Haaland.
Okay, yep.
Or Captain Haaland. What the world
is thinking.
What are you supposed to do?
You're either Captain Erling or you Captain Haaland.
He's playing at home. Okay. Brentford at home for Salah is also a tasty fixture, but it's not as tasty as Ipswich, right? They have what doesn't look like the best defense. I will give them props. They probably look like the most hardworking team in the Premier League. They ran harder than anybody else this weekend.
True.
They ran. But they ran, and Liverpool still ran circles around them and scored those 2 goals. And I would not be surprised if Haaland is going to get a hat-trick this weekend. So he's the obvious standout captain choice this week. And before we talk about the nuances of captaining Haaland, do you have any other outside options for captains outside of Haaland? Because there are at least 47% of people who are playing FPL who don't have Haaland. Who do they captain?
Well, like you say, if you don't have Haaland, you probably have Salah. So then I would probably say Salah. But another player who's on form, who we spoke about earlier, is Saka. He is playing Villa away. But as an outside choice, if you don't have Haaland or Salah, probably go with Saka. You could even say the same argument for Havertz. But for those people that don't have those premiums and are more mid-tier, you've got Jota. So same situation, Salah, Brentford at home. Jota got a goal last week, so he's on a bit of form, still from preseason as well. So he would be an outside choice. The most rogue captaincy pick this week, I think, would be Solanke.
That's kind of so when you captain someone like Solanke who hasn't even scored for Spurs yet, I think you must be someone who's dying or like on the hard out on their luck, and let's try and take a chance. It's too early for chances, people. Okay,
Just
if
go
you
with
play
what
in
you
a
know.
series, like you don't mess with captain choices. Haaland is the captain choice. He will be the most captain player. He most likely will score points, and if he flops, we flop together. Okay, I would say
Birds of
even
a
more.
feather flop together.
Yeah. FPL birds, bro. What's more interesting as a differential captain choice is captaining and defender, because there are a lot of good game weeks at home.
Yeah.
We had Porro with an Everton at home if he stays fit
Vardyl.
and he starts the game. A guard, if Haaland's going to score, Vardyal's going to have a clean sheet. You know, that's really good. And then there's even Trent, right?
Yeah.
So
same thing.
they even if I was going to go differential over Haaland, I might just say stuff it and go for a defender. But honestly, I think we're all going to captain Haaland. But then that brings us to the next thing. Got to talk about chips.
It's
because there are
interesting.
some
Sorry to
people-
interrupt, but it's interesting to just discuss a topic. Normally, we would discuss who to captain, but we know who to captain. It's so funny to me how we're busy weighing up whether we should be playing a chip or not in Gameweek 2, because it goes against everything that we stand for.
No, and there's a reason why a lot of people have been playing chips. Firstly, because there was so much more variation in your team choice and not as big a template team, people had chosen a really good starting team. So a lot of people played their bench boost in game week 1. Isn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong, but the top player of FPL so far
he played his bench boost
in game week 1. So because you could set up a really decent team, but you had to drop either Haaland or Salah to do that.
Yeah.
And you could put a team together without those two that was capable of doing really well. Wood and Wisa, I think, were part of his team, and that's why he is right at the top. But some people are thinking about playing their bench boost for this week because honestly, there's so many good home fixtures. Spurs are at home, Salah's at home, Liverpool's at home, so Jota, Salah, Diaz, all of them. City's at home, Fulham's at home. There's so many good home fixtures, and even some of the away fixtures are so tasty that you can put a really good team together, especially if you have a good bench and you could bench boost. Would you suggest bench boosting this early? Do you think that guy did the right thing? Do you wish you had bench boosted?
I don't wish I bench boosted because my team wasn't really great on the bench. It wasn't as round as current leader. Slight temptation to triple captain though. I know I mentioned in our last video that do you triple captain Salah? And we kind of shot it down because you don't really do that kind of thing earlier. But had we have done it, goodness me, Salah would have had 42 points. So having said that, it's really making me consider triple captain Haaland this week.
I don't think you're the only one. And we spoke about this before. You told me this morning.
Yeah, we started a Discord call. We were just chatting to brief before the pod. And I was like, Mike, I have a rogue idea. I'm thinking about triple captain Haaland. And he was like, me too. And I'm like, what? It's not as rogue as I thought.
It isn't, because he's playing Ipswich. We've just seen Salah. We knew he was going to score points, and he delivered. Okay, he delivered his 14.
Haaland scored against Chelsea. He's got preseason form.
He's primed to do it. He even was a little bit angry after the game. I don't know if you caught his post match. He was talking to one of the reporters, and he was actually like kind of digging at Pep. That's my only concern. Pep gets angry at him.
Yeah,
because the guy was asking Haaland, "What can you add to your game?" And Haaland was like, "Well, everybody else is just passing the ball to each other, and I'm just looking at them. He wants to get involved in the game more." And that's an indicative of Pep's style, right? So Haaland's basically saying, I can score more goals, but I don't because
pass me the bloody ball.
No one's passing me the ball because they're passing it to each other, because that's how Pep plays. So that's the only concern, whether Pep has some anger issues towards Haaland for that jab. But honestly, I think both of us are more than 50% likely to get triple captain this weekend. Yeah. I would say it sounds like it.
It'll be a last minute deadline day decision depending on team news and all that. But yeah, I'm leaning towards it.
We are both 50%. What do you say? We triple
50
captain
plus 50
Haaland
equals 100. So yeah, I agree. Let's throw the chip on our FPL team. Put it on. Look at that 4 a.m. deadline. That's in Canada. Don't worry, guys. It's not a 4 a.m. deadline. It's more reasonable than that. But anyway, okay. I'm happy with
Worst case scenario, if Haaland isn't our triple captain,
let's not leave it on Henderson. We made a mistake last year.
I'm going to go with Salah.
I
that's
agree,
okay.
I agree. We're also not making changes, just by the way.
It's too early.
Yeah, no point.
In actual fact, and this is something that a lot of people would maybe benefit from talking about, is just that FPL is a marathon. It's not a sprint. We have 37 more game weeks to go. And you built your team not just for game week 1, unless you were planning on wildcard, and you built it for at least a couple of game weeks. And I can tell you, everybody out there, and those people who try to beat me in my mini leagues, I can tell you right now, my plan is to mini wildcard by game week 4. For game week 4. The reason being, between game week 3 and game week 4, there's an international break. I believe in the team I put together that, aside from aggressive injuries, it should get me through 3 game weeks.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm telling you, as a person who's played FPL for almost 10 years now, that there's been many times when I make changes, and I often look at my team from the week before that would have played if I didn't make changes, and I normally would have scored 20 more points than I did if I didn't make those changes.
Yeah.
And then I think to myself, okay, well, I'm going to hold these players for 2 to 3 weeks. By the time I make more transfers, I'm just kicking myself continuously. It's like a fusion energy, a wheel of kicking, like a boots on it, just kicking me constantly. I'm telling you guys, keep calm. Hold value on the players you have. Get value out of them for 3 weeks before you. Nate, what do you think about my strategy by waiting till the game week 4 and then making some transfers?
I like it because, similar to you, my team was built for game week 2, 3, 4, 5. So and with the amount of transfers that you have in the bank, there's you might not even need to play a wild card if things are going well for your team. You can have 4 transfers in the bank built up, so you could play with your team there, and that's a mini wild card in itself. So
that's what I meant by a mini wild card. I'm planning on, at game week 4, if I have 3 banked transfers, which you've never had before. That's the plan, right?
Yeah. It's going to be so, Well, I'm keen for it. Like I say, for my personal team, I'm not making changes this week. I know you're not going to make any changes this week. As tempted as it is to just gamble a little bit, I know I mentioned to you I might downgrade Saka to Foden because Foden's starting is going to come back, and I have that feeling that Foden might be the one to pop off and not Haaland. There is that potential, but also Saka's on form now and he's playing well, so why bother? Just bank the transfer, because I want to bring Salah in soon. So that's why I'm banking the transfer, just for your insight and for everyone else inside, why I'm not making moves yet, because I need Salah. So in order to do that, I need some transfers to not take negatives to get him in. So that's my plan.
And I guarantee you Salah's going to score some points over the next 2 weeks while you don't have him. And then he's going to blank for 2 weeks while you have him.
Yeah.
Are you planning on bringing him in? The first time you're going to have
4, I think. Game week 3 or 4, yeah.
Game week 4, because just so to calculate this correct, right now, how many free transfers do we have? 1. And after game week 2, so for game week 3, we will have
Three. Well, for game week 3, we'll have 2. For game week 4, we'll have 3 transfers. Yeah.
Yeah. So for game week 4, that's the big one. That's the one where you have the 3 changes. It's a mini wildcard. People have never had that before.
Can even take a -4 and make 4 changes. Also.
Yeah, and I think that's what you're going to plan for. So would we likely see you bring in Salah at that point?
Yeah,
it's after the United game.
Yeah, that's kind of the plan. Yeah, just it's Salah, and if he keeps going like this, he can be 13 mil come December, easy. So yeah.
Well, and that's something for everyone else to watch out for, is because if Salah
he goes up to
12.6,
it's going to be way more harder to afford him. So that's why I'm watching this weekend closely. So at least I have that bank. So if I need to pull the trigger now, I can. Yeah, for you guys that are watching that don't have Salah yet, you really need to consider having him in your team. I could say you can get away without Haaland, but Salah, I don't know.
This is why I went with both of them from game week 1, because I knew that it's easier to get rid of them than it is to get
good
them.
strat. Good strat. It's much easier to downgrade Salah to Jota than to upgrade Jota to Salah.
Especially if Salah's going to go up 0.5, it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
In a team that funds are spread so thinly.
Yeah.
So that's our captain choices. This is our team.
Yeah.
Let us know if you would make any changes to this team. Anything else that stands out to me? I was telling Nate earlier that I think Kuleveski starts the next match at right wing instead of Brennan Johnson. To somehow balance the team from that draw, or he starts it instead of Solanke, which will be hilarious for everyone in the world. Like FPL.
That'll be very awkward. I just want to. Just quickly. I'm probably going to butcher this name, but guy or girl, not sure, from Singapore. Norashid. He or she is first in our mini league. So congratulations to you. 86 points whole this week. Very respectable. Captain Salah, so took your advice. Has Saka in the team, took my advice. Had Havertz, so really good points for him or her. Let us know in the comment down below that you're watching, and then
we'll take a look at your team. Look at it. Look at that.
There we go. Look at it. There we go. So, United fan, of course. Get this off the podcast.
But United fan that was clever enough to hold 3 Arsenal assets, knowing that they were fixture proof, but still had a decent defense. And I love that
team. I love that team. He was just points away from Fernandes and Eze to take him through 100. Yeah, him or her to 100. It was great. It was great.
Yeah, this is actually this is probably the best non-Haaland team that I think you could have put together.
So big ups to you. Well played. Very good team. Just quick hot take on your team. I personally also wouldn't bother with making changes yet. If you want, you can try and fit in Haaland, but honestly, that's fine. Just go with another captain on Salah and you should be fine.
Yeah, I think he goes without Haaland and he watches the rest of us blanket.
If you want, you could find a way to downgrade Saka to bring in Foden if you want a Man City asset, but honestly, I don't think you need to.
Yeah. But thanks, you guys, for listening. Are we rounding up?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's been game week 2. So hopefully you guys have a few things to pull from the segments that we've done today. Let us know you like this style of video as well. We've just tried a little bit different format to our normal podcast. Trying to bring some structure into it, because last year we're kind of just all over the place. But now we're really trying to produce some good content. So let us know what you guys think. Thank you for subscribing. We're on 89 subscribers on YouTube now, nearly at 100. That'll be very cool if we're going to hit 100 before the end of the year. I'm pretty sure we can. So that can be our little goal. Those of you listening to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, thank you for listening. We appreciate it. Don't forget to check out our YouTube videos. There'll be some videos cut up from today's segment in a shorter format just for you to go view and watch. But yeah, we just say thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.